Hello everyone. So today we're going to continue on 1.7 domain eukarya kingdom Animalia. So last time we left off with phylum Annelida, which was the last part of the worms classification. So today we're going to continue on with phylum Arthropoda. So how is Arthropoda being classified based on the evolutionary tree? So let's look from the beginning. So arthropods are eumetozoans, so they have true tissues, and in terms of symmetry they are bilateral and they have 3 germ layers, so they are tripoplastic, and they also contain body cavity, which is the coelom, and that body cavity, that coelom, will be lined by the mesoderm, thus it is known as an eucoelomate. In terms of the embryonic development, it is a protostome, so it develops the mouth first, and then now we're going to look at the segmentation. So in terms of segmentation, the phylum Arthropods thus has segmentation for its animal. However, the distinct difference between arthropods and annelids is that annelids are metameric segmentation, while Arthropoda are tegmata segmentation. So what is the difference between these two? So we're going to look at it later on. The word arthropod comes from the Greek term anthron, which is joint, and poda, which means foot. So together, arthropods contains joint foot. So they are considered to be the largest phylum among kingdom Animalia, and they have the most successful phylum in terms of species diversity, numbers, and distribution. The unique characteristic of phylum Arthropoda starts off it having true tissues, so they are considered to be eumetozoan, and they have bilateral symmetry with extensive cephalization. In terms of germ layer, they are tripoplastic, meaning they have endoderm, mesoderm, and ectoderm, and they are eucoelomate. The fluid in the coelom forms a hydrostatic skeleton. In terms of the embryonic development, it develops the mouth first, so they are considered to be protostome. In terms of digestive system, they are completed from the mouth until the anus. The excretory system consists of the Malpighian tubules. The nervous system is highly developed. The respiratory system consists of through gills or trachea or even book lungs. And lastly, the open circulatory system is a blood-like fluid called the hemocoelom. So, we're going to focus on 7 unique characteristics that causes animals under phylum Arthropods to be the most diverse in terms of species. So the first unique characteristic is that it has tegmata. Okay, so tegmata basically means the few segments that are grouped together to form a distinct body region. Okay, so usually they will have 3 distinct body regions. First is the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. So these segments, those 3 distinct segments, may or may not fuse together. This allows specialization of the body parts to conduct a specific function. Usually, the head is used for feeding, the thorax is used for movement, and the abdomen specifically for reproduction. So the second characteristic is the hard chitinous exoskeleton. So the function of this exoskeleton is to protect the body from dehydration and mechanical injury. This also provides attachment site of the muscle and allow them to live in a wider range of habitats. So the third characteristic is that they have paired jointed appendages. The appendages is divided into segments separated by the joints. This allows efficient and flexible movement of the arthropods. The appendages are modified into a sensory, walking, swimming, and so on. The fourth characteristic is the highly developed sensory organ. So these organs help in terms of detecting small changes within the environment, causing the arthropods to be very alert to slight changes in the surrounding and respond rapidly to avoid danger from any predators. So the fifth characteristic is that arthropods has a variety of respiratory organs such as lungs, trachea, book lungs, in which it allows them to survive in different habitats. The sixth one is metamorphosis. These allow different life forms that are adapted to different habitats, showing that the larva and the adult use different sources of food to reduce intra-specific competition. The seventh and the last characteristic is that arthropods has a variety of mouth structure. Thus, they have many feeding modes, and each of them varies in the type of food it eats. So one example of an animal under phylum Arthropoda is the Valanga species, commonly known as the grasshopper. So as you can see in this diagram, the body part consists of a head, a thorax, and the abdomen. The grasshopper also have a pair of antennae in the front and 3 pairs of walking legs. They usually have 2 pairs of wings on the thoracic body, and you can typically find it mostly in terrestrial region. The respiration for the grasshopper is through the tracheal system, as you can see in this cross section. They contain the tracheal tubes, and it has a various mode of nutrition due to its mandibles. So the next phylum, the 7th phylum, is phylum Mollusca. So how are animals under phylum Mollusca being classified? So we look in terms of the true tissue. So they are eumetazoan. It is a bilateral symmetry and triple plastic germ layer. It contains coelom. Thus it is also a eucoelomate due to it being lined by the mesoderm. Okay, in terms of embryonic development, it is a protostome. And then look in terms of the presence of segmentation. So for phylum Mollusca, there is still no segmentation. Okay, so all of the animals that is eumetazoan, bilateral symmetry and triple plastic germ layer, eucoelomate, protostome, and no segmentation, they will be classified as phylum Mollusca. The word mollusca indicates that they are soft-bodied. So examples of animals under phylum Mollusca are snails, cockles, squids, and also octopus. They are usually protected with hard shells made of calcium carbonate. However, other animals under phylum Mollusca does not have these shells. Instead, for example, squids have reduced internal shells, while the octopus has none at all. The unique characteristic of phylum Mollusca is that they are eumetazoan through tissues, they are bilateral symmetry with cephalization, triple plastic in terms of germ layer and eucoelomate. Fluid in coelom forms the hydrostatic skeleton, is a protostome. The digestive system is complete from the mouth to the anus. The respiratory system is through the gills, and our marine mollusks mostly reproduce trophophore larvae in terms of its reproduction. And lastly, the body is soft and moist. So in most mollusks, such as the example here, which is a snail, we can divide the body into 3 main parts. The first one is the muscular foot, which is used for locomotion. The second one is the visceral mass inside, which contains most of the internal organ of the organism. The third one is the mantle here on top. Okay, so the mantle is a fold of tissue on the visceral mass, which may secrete a shell. Most mollusks have shells, however, there are some exceptions. Mostly the mantle extends over the visceral mass to create a cavity, to be specific, the mantle cavity, to help protect the internal organ. They feed using a radula, which is a specialized organ that scrapes up food. So basically these are considered small, tiny teeth for the mollusks. Achatina species, also known as the snail, is one of the examples under phylum Mollusca. It is classified under the largest classes and mostly found in marine habitat. Its respiration is using the gills and moist skin. It is mostly protected by a single spiral external shell called the univalves. Some of them has an operculum, a plate that covers the shell opening when the body is withdrawn. Mostly have eyes at the tip of the tentacles, and they are commonly known as snails and slug. So a bit of an interesting fact about the Acanthina species is that they can undergo a process called torsion, usually occurs during the embryonic development, meaning the anus and the mantle cavity is twisted to the front by a 180 degrees rotation. So after the torsion process, the anus and the mantle cavity is located above the head and the mouth. Okay, so you can see here, the anus and the mantle is just above the head. So why is this important? So this creates a space. So a space here that may provide space for the head of the snail to withdraw into the shell. Okay, so if there's any predator, they can quickly withdraw the head into the shell. So these are some of the other examples of animals under phylum Mollusca. So I'll give you a few seconds to enjoy these unique and beautiful creatures.